Let's start with first news. A huge update has emerged regarding the altercation involving Khamzat and the ongoing tension surrounding Namo Fazil. As we covered over the last few days, Fazil claimed that he was jumped by a group of around 15 Chechen men at his hotel before his fight on Dana White's Contender Series. He later suffered a knockout loss and claimed the altercation affected his performance. Yesterday, Khamzat called for peace between Chechens and Kurds, and it now appears that his message may have helped calm the situation. The tension reportedly began after Fazil made comments about UFC welterweight Islam Dulatov. During an interview, Fazil called out Islam and made some provocative remarks about him. Shortly afterward, he was allegedly confronted and jumped by a group of men. Since then, Fazil has received plenty of criticism and mockery from people within the Chechen community. However, things have now taken a positive turn. Ali Abdelaziz appears to have helped broker peace between Fazil and Islam by getting both men together on a three-way FaceTime call. Ali explained that the two men spoke, with Fazil taking responsibility for his words and sincerely apologizing to Islam. He praised Fazil for admitting his mistake and also praised Islam for accepting the apology and choosing to forgive. He emphasized that disagreements should not divide people, especially when forgiveness and reconciliation are possible. Ali also said that strength is not only about fighting. True strength means having the courage to admit when you're wrong and the heart to forgive someone who genuinely apologizes. He ended by calling for unity, mercy, respect, and forgiveness, saying that everyone should lead by example for the next generation. So, after days of tension and controversy, it looks like things may finally be calming down, and hopefully, we won't see any more crazy headlines involving Namo Fazil. Move on to another news. Max Holloway has now given his honest reaction to Conor's return, and it's safe to say he wasn't impressed with what he saw inside the octagon. Max addressed Conor's comments about the fight, particularly the claim that the surface was slippery because of the dry ice. According to Max, he simply didn't buy that explanation. Max basically said he didn't know what Conor was talking about because he didn't fall during the fight. That wasn't all, though. Max also reacted to Conor describing the performance as a generational beating. And Max didn't hold back. He called Conor delusional, saying that from his perspective, Conor actually looked slow during the fight. Max explained that he felt Conor was moving slowly, and more importantly, he looked old inside the cage. Max went even further, saying that if there was going to be a generational beating, it certainly wasn't coming from Conor's side. That is a pretty brutal assessment, especially coming from someone who has shared the octagon with Conor before and knows exactly what his speed and timing looked like during his prime. Max also expressed sympathy for the fans who paid to attend the massive event. He acknowledged that it was a huge night, with many people spending significant amounts of money to travel, buy tickets, and support the fighters. However, Max suggested that Conor looked like he was struggling from the very beginning, even describing him as having weak knees early in the fight. So, while Conor may have his own explanation for what happened, Max clearly doesn't agree with it. Instead, Max believes Conor looked slow, looked old, and simply wasn't the fighter people remembered from his prime. Those comments are likely to add even more fuel to the conversation surrounding Conor's comeback and his performance. Move on to another news. Paddy Pimblett could be getting ready for another fight announcement very soon. Paddy recently faced Benoit Saint-Denis, and considering he took very little damage during that fight, it looks like he's already interested in making a quick turnaround. The biggest update came from Paddy's latest YouTube vlog, where he showed behind-the-scenes footage from his time at UFC 330 in Philadelphia. Right at the end of the video, Paddy dropped a major hint about his next fight. He revealed that he expects his next fight to be finalized within the next few days. Paddy said they had a successful night, enjoyed themselves, and were impressed by the incredible Philadelphia crowd. He then added that hopefully he would have a fight announced soon and that they would find out in the coming days. That statement immediately raises questions about who Paddy could face next. Arman is already scheduled to fight Mauricio Ruffi, which seemingly takes him out of the picture for now. That leaves several interesting options for Paddy. One possibility is Ilya, A matchup between Paddy and Ilya would be massive, especially if an interim title were involved. However, Ilya may need some additional time to recover, meaning a return could potentially come toward the end of this year or even early next year. Another option is Charles Oliveira. Charles was previously expected to fight Arman, but that matchup fell apart because of everything that happened recently. If the UFC wants to give Paddy another huge lightweight opponent, Charles would certainly make sense. Then there's Diego Lopez, one of the division's newest major names. A fight between Paddy and Diego would also be extremely interesting and could potentially put either man closer to the top of the lightweight division. So, with Paddy saying that an announcement could come within days, don't be surprised if Dana White reveals something soon, possibly during one of his live streams or even around this weekend's Sacramento card. But there's also another funny detail from UFC 330. Paddy was seen eating a Philly cheesesteak during the broadcast. That became even more interesting after he revealed on a podcast that he was weighing around 200 to 205 pounds. And apparently, we now know why. Paddy told Bruce Buffer that he had already eaten 2 cheesesteaks earlier that day before adding another one during the broadcast. That's 3 Philly cheesesteaks in a single day. Paddy is truly a different breed, and now fans are waiting to see which massive fight gets announced next. Move on to another news. Jon Jones has now reacted to Aljamain Sterling turning down a potential opponent, and his response was surprisingly supportive. Instead of criticizing Aljamain for rejecting the fight, Jon made it clear that he believes fighters should have control over their own careers and make decisions based on what is best for them. Jon shared a message supporting Aljamain, saying he was proud of him and that the decision sounded like something made by a man who was thinking for himself. Jon emphasized that this is Aljamain's career, not anyone else's. According to Jon, nobody is going to protect a fighter's well-being, mental health, or financial future as carefully as the fighter himself can. He basically encouraged Aljamain to take control of his own career and not allow the UFC or anyone else to pressure him into making a decision that could negatively affect him. Jon's message was simple but powerful. Fighters have to protect themselves because, ultimately, they are the ones who have to live with the consequences of their decisions. He also reminded Aljamain not to let the game control him. That is an interesting perspective coming from Jon, especially considering his own long and complicated career in the UFC. Jon has experienced the pressures that come with being one of the biggest names in the sport, so his support for Aljamain carries some weight. Meanwhile, Max Holloway has also been making headlines after taking aim at Conor over his explanation for what happened during his recent fight. Conor previously suggested that the octagon surface was slippery because of the dry ice used during the event. However, Max wasn't buying that explanation. Max said he didn't understand what Conor was talking about because he didn't fall during the fight. He then criticized Conor's description of the performance as a generational beating. Max went as far as calling Conor delusional, saying that from his perspective, Conor looked slow inside the octagon. He also said Conor looked old and argued that if there was going to be a generational beating, it certainly wasn't going to come from Conor's side. Max's comments add another layer to the controversy surrounding Conor's performance, while Jon's message to Aljamain shows that some of the sport's biggest stars believe fighters should put their own well-being first. Move on to another news. We have multiple new UFC fights and major matchup updates to get through. First, Marcel Dorff revealed that Tayad Naraja is out of the August 28th main event against Darius Flowers. Mahashada will now step in on just 8 days' notice to replace him. Mahashada enters the fight on a 2-fight losing streak and currently has a 2-4 record in the UFC. Flowers is 1-3 in the promotion, but he picked up his first UFC victory in April with a second-round TKO over Lando Venata. This is a huge opportunity for Mahashada, as he'll headline an event on short notice in front of his home crowd. Next, the women's strawweight final for the Ultimate Fighter 34 has been revealed. Velka Machado will face Melissa Amaya at UFC Vegas 121 on September 26th at the Apex. The winner will become the TUF 34 strawweight champion and earn a 6-figure UFC contract. Machado previously appeared on the Contender Series and was also Daniel Cormier's first pick. Interestingly, both fighters were members of Team DC, making this matchup even more intriguing. Moving on, Nolan King has reported a new featherweight fight between Andre Fili and Kai Kamaka III for UFC Vegas 122 on October 10th. Fili enters this one on a two-fight losing streak after suffering a second-round TKO loss to Vinicius Oliveira in June. Before that, he dropped a split decision to Jose Delgado. As for Kai, he returned to the UFC earlier this year after nearly 5 years away. He won his comeback fight against Dakota Hope, but then suffered a first-round TKO loss to Luke Riley at UFC 329. He's now 1-1 since returning. Next, Lana Santos will face Yana Santos at UFC Vegas 123 on October 31st. Lana is 6-1 in the UFC and riding a 3-fight winning streak after beating Carol Rosa by unanimous decision. Yana is also on a 3-fight winning streak and recently defeated Macy Chiasson by unanimous decision. Yana later withdrew from a scheduled fight against Norma Dumont because of an injury, but she has now confirmed that she signed a contract to face the highest-ranked opponent of her UFC career. With Lana currently ranked 3rd, it's clear why Yana is excited about this matchup. Technically, though, Holly Holm was also ranked 3rd when Yana fought her in 2023, so Lana is tied with Holm for the highest-ranked opponent she's faced. Either way, this is a solid matchup between two ranked bantamweights. Move on to another news. Arman's return against Mauricio Ruffy is now less than a month away, with September 19th quickly approaching, and Ruffy is making it clear that he's not worried about what Arman brings into the octagon. Fans have been wondering how effective Arman's wrestling will be against a dangerous opponent like Ruffy. Arman is known for his elite grappling and relentless wrestling, but Ruffy possesses some seriously dangerous striking. If Ruffy can land clean shots, he could completely change the fight in an instant. With everything that's happened in 2026, anything seems possible. However, Ruffy isn't entering this matchup worried about Arman's strengths. Ahead of the fight, Ruffy spoke with Paramount and explained that he's completely focused on himself. He believes this fight is a direct path toward a UFC title shot, and he's determined to take advantage of the opportunity. Ruffy explained that he's worked for this dream and has dreamed about reaching this position for a long time. Now that the opportunity is finally here, he intends to make the most of it. He also made it clear that he's not interested in doing too much talking. According to Ruffy, anyone can talk, but he prefers to let his actions speak for him. Ruffy acknowledged that Arman's wrestling will be one of the biggest challenges he's ever faced. He knows exactly what kind of fighter Arman is and understands that this could be the most difficult opponent of his career. But instead of worrying about Arman's game plan, Ruffy says he's focused entirely on what he can bring to the fight. That's a very confident mindset heading into a matchup like this. Ruffy knows he'll need to defend Arman's takedowns, but he also believes he has the power and ability to knock people out. His plan appears to be simple: stop the takedowns and create opportunities to land his dangerous strikes. Ruffy also emphasized that he doesn't want to spend his training camp obsessing over what Arman might do. Instead, he's preparing to impose his own game and show everyone exactly what he's capable of. Meanwhile, Arman recently made an interesting move in preparation for his comeback, linking up with Jorge Masvidal at American Top Team. That training connection could add another interesting element to Arman's preparations as he gets ready for a fight that could have major title implications. With both men sounding confident, this matchup is shaping up to be a fascinating clash between Arman's elite wrestling and Ruffy's explosive striking. Move on to another news. We have some interesting developments following UFC 329, with multiple fighters reportedly facing disciplinary action from the Nevada State Athletic Commission. According to Nolan King, the commission is holding a hearing on Wednesday regarding the withholding of fight purses for Max Holloway, Paddy Pimblett, and Gable Steveson. Nolan also reached out to Paddy's manager, Graham Boylan, who revealed that the issue is reportedly connected to cage hopping. Boylan criticized the rule, arguing that it doesn't make much sense in modern MMA. He pointed out that while regulations are necessary to keep the sport organized, this particular rule needs to be reconsidered. And importantly, this is not a UFC rule. It's a Nevada regulation. Under the rule, fighters are required to remain inside the fenced area after their fights until a referee or commission representative gives them permission to leave. That means even after the fight is officially over, fighters can potentially face disciplinary action if they leave the cage without approval. So, it will be interesting to see what kind of punishment, if any, these fighters receive. However, there's one especially confusing part of the situation involving Max Holloway. After rewatching UFC 329, it doesn't appear that Max actually jumped the cage. That raises the possibility that he may have been cited for something else, or perhaps something happened outside the broadcast view. At this point, the exact reason for Max being included in the commission hearing isn't completely clear. Either way, the hearing could provide some answers and reveal exactly what happened behind the scenes following UFC 329. Meanwhile, the UFC rankings have also been updated. There were only a few changes across the rankings, and nothing particularly major happened this week. So, while the disciplinary situation could develop further, the latest rankings update itself was relatively quiet.